Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
I asked you to confirm if indeed Mr. Jim said he got information from the OPC, and controlling officer, you indicated that indeed OPC was involved, but at that stage, OPC's head or the chief secretary at that stage was Ms. Colleen Zamba. Now, Kota Central was here, but it is on record that in one of the engagements, he was a lawyer to Ms. Colleen Zamba. The committee feels that is conflicted. To that extent, we thought we can suspend so that we maintain the credibility and integrity of this committee, so that you have comfort in whatever is being discussed. To that effect, I would like to also withdraw all the questions which were asked by Kota Central. So you may proceed, Controlling Officer.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me also mention that I had indicated that I would come back to the committee on the date that we were notified that the signed minutes for the 5th extraordinary board meeting were not available. This was communicated on 25th November 2024.
Controlling Officer,
sorry, 2025.
Can you hold? Honour members and colleagues, media and everyone around in this room, we are not allowed to take meals. You can only enjoy the drinks. So anyone enjoying a meal in this room, it is completely out of order, and Parliament doesn't accept that, because this is more of a parliamentary sitting. Controlling Officer, please proceed.
Saying I had promised that once I get the date when I was notified about not having signed minutes of the 5th extraordinary board meeting, we have the date, and this was communicated on 25th November 2025. With your permission, let me proceed to responding to the last set of questions. This was from Honorable from Mulanje.
That is Mulanje West, yes. Our senior.
Yes. Chair, the first was, have we done any other transaction as a fund in the same manner? Chair, I stipulated the procedure that fund managers follow when they have an investment opportunity. But let me mention a few investments that followed that very same procedure governed by our investment policy that this board made. Chair, the first one I already mentioned is not complete, but is taking shape in Blantyre, the hotel we are building. The second one, Chair, maybe most members do not know, is the Parliament to Town 6-lane road. Most people know Old Mutual and CAM, I think. And yes, but those are our investment managers. They evaluated the opportunity because there was a special purpose vehicle. They invested in that, and the coupons that we're getting from such investments, a proper procedure, as I mentioned, was followed. Those of you who are familiar with the North, you've seen macadamia nuts around the Kwendeni, Chofa. There is macadamia nuts the side of Mchinji. when, yes, allow Namitete, there's a farm in Macadamia Nut there. Those are investment which this board invested in. When you look into the shareholding there, for both farms, we invested in those. But the same procedure that was followed, other managers followed the same. We have the Lifestyle Hotel in Lilongwe. The same procedure, guided by the investment policy, was duly followed. So, Chair, there are several investments that we've done, which are related to property and infrastructure. But when you look at the fund mix that I was presenting, Chair, I had indicated that you shouldn't mind about the current exposure. But at the time when we developing the investment plan, you'd note that the government securities, all the three investment managers, if we combine their investment in government securities, at that time was about 41.3%. So our investment managers look at various opportunities, and they accord it in line with our investment policy and the procedure that we stipulate to them. As to how long these took, it really depends on how good they are with the required analysis and how convinced they are that at this point we can recommend this investment to the board, Chair. So, Honorable Chair, that's what I can.
There was something to do with conflict of interest from Mulanje West, that some of the investments for Nico are slightly in conflict with the business that you wanted to undertake. Can you attempt that one, Controlling Officer?
Yeah, Chair. You remember there was a question on the Oasis waiver. And we mentioned of the agreement that tied us. The reason we wanted that waiver is exactly of the same, because we did not want to be tied forever, because they are also investing in other property. So that's why we pressurize them that we be given a waiver. Chair, the fund, PSPTF, is growing at a very fast rate, or I should say was growing at a very fast rate, because I need to refer to my period. Remember, we just started this fund in 2017, and 6 years down the line, all this that I've said, in addition to instituting the proper institutional frameworks, policies, all this, it's these people who did it, including the other trustees of the first cohort. And our term is just 3 years. So what it means is within the 6 years, we needed to rush and do all this. So, Chair, I would emphasize that indeed, Nico may have, possibly, but them granting us a waiver, which we were granted, Chair, I can put on record, allowed us now to invest in everything. The last question.
Honourable members, can you wait? Let him take all those questions, then I'll ask for supplementary.
Last question, Chair. I would want you to remind me.
It was about to say, how did you expect NAM to identify and encourage the fund to invest in a profitable hotel, competing hotel?
Mulanje West, can I give you the floor so that you switch on your mic, so that everything that you're saying, it has to be recorded. Remember, it's an inquiry, and in Parliament, we're supposed to behave as such. To my senior, Mulanje West, You have the floor.
The other one you've taken it about the NAM or the encourage a fund to invest in a competing hotel. But also the last one was in your experience or from your experience, how long would it take for a manager to evaluate the worthiness of a proportion magnitude of a hotel like Amaryllis?
Your mic, please, controlling officer. And you actually indicated that the portfolio was rising. You first said is rising, then you corrected yourself was rising because you wanted to indicate how you were growing it. You may also indicate as in passing what was the portfolio financial-wise in terms of monetary value at the point of entry, when you're exiting, how much was in the fund, to the extent that those who came after you, so that you have opportunities, you have idle funds, or you have whatever, that they thought, no, we can even spend this money on this thing, despite experts are guiding contrary. Controlling officer?
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me first take the questions from Mulanje West. How long would it take for a manager to do an evaluation of a caliber of Amaryllis? Chair, I'm not a fund manager. I don't have expertise into the methodology that they use. And as a chair, I depend on the fund managers who have expertise. So the best experience would be from the fund managers. They can guide the committee better. I'll be lying, Chair, to say it may take 3 months, 4 months, because the technicalities and the actual methodology of evaluation, I don't know. On Nico not being interested to invest because they are also into hotel business. Chair, remember, this opportunity was not identified by the board. This opportunity, as I indicated, was brought by Nico. So by them bringing it, it means they were interested. Because remember, they need to invest so that we can pay them fees and learn the company. So I'm convinced that they saw the opportunity in all honesty and presented the opportunity to the board. That's how I would take that one, Chair. On your question, Chair, it requires records, Chair. As you know, we left the business of the fund on 6th September 2023. This is a house of records. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, if we had our secretariat, because they are the ones who keep records, even the records we've shared with you, we requested and were given yesterday so that we can tender them. If they were here, Chair, I would have quickly asked that we check the records and then we can give. But since you're meeting them, Chair, you can also check how the fund was performing up to the time we're exiting. I submit, Chair.
Thank you so much. I see Zomba Sitenoff, Chilazulu Nyungwe, and the Lilongwe East. Come to Blantyre, Chiromoni, and the Mulanje West. My apology. We'll start with Chitipa Central. From Chitipa Central, then we'll follow that order, please. Chitipa Central.
Thank you, Chair. I'm building my question on Lilongwe Chilobwe, where he was asking of pressure from OPC. The controlling officer's answer is like there was no pressure to his knowledge. But at one point, if you see the records at one point, the fund is not happy with Nico Asset Managers, to the point that they wrote them a letter on 5th June 2024. Chair, is paragraph 2. I will read a sentence from that. The fund finds that NAM conducted their Amaryllis transaction in a manner below the expected professional standards of an investment manager. Then after meeting OPC or communication with OPC, they are now very happy with Nico, and now on 19th June they write them again a letter. The fund further acknowledges and appreciates the professionalism, diligence demonstrated by Nico during the initial phase of the transaction. Suddenly they see professionalism in them. What changed if it's not pressure? Chair, we would want to know what changed if it was not pressure from OPC. I submit, Chair.
Zomba Sitenoff.
Chair, through you, I want to put forth a supplementary question, riding on the question that Mulanje West had asked. So the controller had responded that in one of the properties that the fund had purchased is a lifestyle hotel, formerly called Sigerege. The committee wanted to appreciate the track record on how they are acquiring property. And this is why I wanted to find out how many valuers did the valuations and what companies were engaged, the valuation value against how much was paid on this property. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Zomba City North, Chilazulu Nyungwe.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to go back to the issue to do with the missing minutes. I want the controlling officer to share with us when minutes are drafted and then signed, are they not distributed to the members that were present in the meeting? Do you mean to tell this honorable committee and Malawians that none of these gentlemen here have any single copy of the minutes in question? The second question is something to do with what he mentioned about there being a resolution in the board meeting to curtail or not to invest in Amaryllis Hotel. I would like to learn from the controlling officer, what is the process? Because we have learned that the other board that came in decided to reverse that decision. So what is the process of retabling an issue that was rejected by a board? I think that will give us a picture. Thank you very much, Chair.
There was Blantyre Blantyre Chiromoni. My apologies. I think I'm still nursing that place. You used to be an MP, Blantyre, Chirobwe side. Over to you, Honorable Blantyre Chiromoni Nancholi.
Chair, I want to take you through a timeline and take you quickly to the presentation that was made here by Malawi Law Society. It's a 74-page titled the Letter to Clerk of Parliament, the special inquiry into the acquisition of Amaryllis Hotel by the Public Service Pension Trust Fund. Chair, if you're on that document, I hope members are, I'll take you straight to page number 3. On page 3, number 9 says, at its meeting on the 17th of January 2024, the fund board formally resolves to discontinue the purchase transaction of Amaryllis Hotel. The decision was made on the basis of NAM's advice and that the investment was not viable. I'll take you to number 11. On or about 1st February, NAM formally informed the YIL of its decision to withdraw its recommendation to the fund regarding the investment of the Amaryllis Hotel. Point 12, on the 12th of February 2024, Cedar Capital, on behalf of YAL, wrote Continental Asset Managers, another investment manager of the fund. The correspondence requested that CAM, which is the Continental Asset Managers, assume the role of the transaction lead in NAM to facilitate the completion of the sale. Chair, I want you to quote that, completion of the sale. The CIM made presentation to the fund's board recommending the purchase of Amaryllis Hotel. This is on the 12th of October. Remember, their meeting, that's the 12th of February 2024. Remember, they met on the 17th to discontinue the sale. The fund instructed the CAM to conduct its own independence analysis of the proposal distincts from NAM's previous work. Following a series of meetings between the fund and CAM, the fund ultimately decided at a meeting held on 10th of October 2024 not to proceed with the sale. I'll take you to number 13. In an interim period on 7th March 2024 and again on 18th March 2024, the principal officer of the fund issued letters of commitment to YAL stating that the fund's continued interest in completing the transaction for the purchase of Amaryllis Hotel. According to the anonymous source, the principal officer was pressurized to make such statements. The source referred to the meeting which the principal officer held or had held on the 6th of March 2024, which was attended by Mrs. Colleen Zamba, the then Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Mr. Priska Pondangaga, the Chief of Staff at State Residence, Mr. Chizaso Nyirongo, the Director of Legal Services at OPC, and Mr. Boyd Hamela, the then Chairperson of the Fund's Investment Committee. There's a reference there which I will go to. According to the source, OPC expressed serious concerns that there had been no significant progress on the acquisition of Amaryllis Hotel. OPC clarified that the interest in this investment arose because the office had received indications of imminent legal action. According to the Director of Legal Services, based at the stage of the Amaryllis transaction had reached, it could be implied that or construed that the fund entered into a binding contract to purchase a hotel. As such, if the owner of Amaryllis Hotel initiates legal proceedings and fund was likely to lose the case. OPC further stated that the highest office of the received reports suggesting that the fund must be sued for breaching the acquisition. On the same 13, the fund should expedite and conclude the sale of Amaryllis Hotel. This is in that meeting, March. And then B, the fund issued the comfort letter to the seller by 7th March 2024 to address the pressure that the seller was receiving from lenders and to evade the legal threats. C, that the fund submit a practical and detailed action plan to the OPC by 8 March 2024. D, given the matter had reached the highest office, that the fund provide weekly progress updates of the case, in case of all communication was to be directed to the Director of Legal Services, Mr. Jizaso Nyirongo, that the fund engage, or CE, finally, that the fund engage in a new investment manager to complete or to oversee the completion of Amaryllis transaction. Chair, I'll quickly go to page number 16 and 17 of the same document, if you're on that document. With your indulgence, Chair.
Please proceed.
On page 16 is where there is an attachment of the 5th Extraordinary Board of Trustee meeting of the Public Service Pensions Trust Fund held on the 17th of January 2024. The resolution to withdraw from the Amaryllis Hotel purchase transaction. And there is the resolution to withdraw at the 5th Ordinary Board meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Public Service Pension Fund Trust held on the 17th of January 2024, following the professional advice from the investment manager, Nico Asset Managers Limited, not to proceed with the purchase of Amaryllis Hotel situated in Blantyre, Malawi. Stating that the investment was not viable, the board resolved not to proceed with the purchase of the transaction. They are signed James Daire Kumwenda, and then the chairperson of the investment committee, Mr. Boyd Hamela. However, we have this on the 17th. We have 8 minutes that are missing. Chair, I'll quickly now conclude by taking you to page 19 to page 22, where there is a report of the meeting that the Public Service Pension Trust Fund and the Office of the President and Cabinet held on the 6th of March 2024. In attendance, name Colin Zamba, position Secretary to the President and Cabinet. Number 2, name Prince Kabonda Gaga, position Chief of Staff as State Residence. 3, Chizaso Nyirongo, Director of Legal Affairs, OPC. 4, Mr. Boyd Hamela, Chairperson Investment of the Public Service Pension Trust Fund. And finally, Mr. George Jim, the Principal Officer of the... So there's an introduction there and how the meeting proceeded. But of interest, Chair, is the fact that this meeting recommended that they should, the board or the pension, Public Service Pension Trust Fund should issue comfort letters. If you see, Chair, what is happening here, we are dealing with money in billions, but I think it looks like, people are in secondary or high school kind of stuff. There's no seriousness in what is happening here. Because they, as a board, recommended that they should suspend the sale on the 17th. But if you go there, you find that between 7th and the 18th of March, 2024, the seller is receiving letters of comfort from... Was the board aware of this? Was the board not aware of this? And if the board was aware of this, was the board not sleeping? And if the board was not sleeping, can the board now tell us why we must not go back and investigate how the procurement of Sigerege was arrived at? I submit, Chair.
I would like to appreciate that wisdom, and the same sentiments were raised by Zomba City North. You may recall, honourable members, that this inquiry on Amaryllis Hotel was arrived at, and the House resolved that we conduct an inquiry. So I would like to rule that in the areas of other investment by the fund, we revert to the House so that the House can give us mandate also to proceed to inquire on the other investments which were conducted. As such, I would like to rule that we focus on the acquisition of Amaryllis Hotel up until the House gives us powers to proceed as such. Mwanje Southeast.
Thanks very much, Chair, for that guidance. I would want to take you a little back to the presentation that was made by our stakeholder. You earlier indicated that the Nico Asset Managers had given you a value of 47 billion, which is the value that you were working with, before finally withdrawing the same at your board meeting of the 17th of January 2024. I just wanted to find out from you whether you as a board had decided to get other values from professional portfolio managers or valuers apart from the 47 billion that you were working with in this particular case. To help you, we have on record that FDH had valued the very same business at 30 billion. And we have it on record that CDH Asset Managers had valued the very same business at 36.7 billion. Yet, you as a second cohort board had decided to start negotiation to buy Amaryllis at a value of 47 billion. Would you help this committee to understand the wisdom that went into your agreeing to sell to buy Amaryllis at 47 billion above what this committee has gotten from professional valuers? Secondly, Chairperson, I wanted to find out from this board whether the interest that the Nico Asset Managers had made to them by interesting them to buy Amaryllis had not risen any queries amongst them. How did you ensure that you were getting the very best advice from Nico Asset Managers, considering that you had other portfolio managers at your disposal as well? Did you try to get alternative advice from those portfolio managers? Last chairperson, I wanted the members that are before us to come out clean to this honorable committee, whether they have had interactions with Amaryllis or its management or stakeholders before, or in any way before they had conducted business as board members of the Public Service Fund. Thank you, Chairperson.
Lilongwe East, then Mulanje West.
Thank you so much, Chair. I would like to find out from the board before this committee if indeed they had a proper handover with the new board regarding the transaction. If the answer is yes, what kind of information was handed over to this new board regarding the same? I submit, Chair.
Thank you so much, Lilongwe East. Mulanje West.
Thank you so much, Chair, and all my seniors. I just want to add on what Chilazo Masanja has questioned the board. Nyungwi, sorry, has asked the board about the missing documents. How can it be that the whole board missed documents? Was it the period of AD, whereby there were no computers, or we only used the hard copies that they missed? Or else, is it the same document which maybe we were told by the ACB yesterday to say, when they communicated to them, they said there were no minutes. But now when we did ask them to meet, to come before us, they sent us minutes of 17 January. Was it 17 January? 2024, though without a date. Though even if we are writing memos, we used to have dates on it. Is it a real document or it's just a forgery one? Thank you so much.
Controlling officer, can you take those questions? You may wish to be reminded that on the issues to do with other investments, we'll get back to you as a parliament formally, because we want to do things in a proper way. Controlling officer.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think the second set of questions began with Chitipa Central. They were bordering on the sanctions that the board gave to Nico Asset Manager. I'm correct? Yes. And whether that was not due to the perceived pressure. So, Chair, let me mention that Nico Asset Manager or any other fund managers that we had with them, we have a contract with them for a period. So some of the sanctions that, or the sanction that we gave to Nico was not thoroughly depending on this investment, because there was an incident between the fund and Nico on another investment. And then
Chitipa Central, what's out of order?
I think they have forgotten the question. The question was what changed? In February or so, you were complaining you were not happy with them, that they were not professionals. In June, you wrote them a letter again saying they are professional, they are good at their work. You wanted to engage them again. So I was wondering what changed. Because, so my wondering is coming from the question of Lilongwe Chiwamba, that maybe there was pressure that changed your position. If it was not pressure, then what?
Controlling officer.
thank you so much. I think the question is. Chair.
Lilongwe Chiwamba.
Chair, I want to supplement
on the question from Chitipa. Chair, I would like to ask the control officer to answer me only 2 questions. Can you tell me where the current board chair, before coming board chair, where was he?
Honorable Lilongwe Chiwamba, you know, you are a senior member of the House. Debate in anticipation is not allowed in the House. So maybe we'll engage the current board chair. You may wish to request the current board chair at that stage to give you or to submit to this House a brief background. In that way, you may get the best out of what you have indicated. You may proceed to ask your second question. But when the other board comes, in the event that you've forgotten, I will remind you as your chair to take that question.
Chair, let me withdraw, but let me inform you, Chair. I represent people of Lilongwe Chiwamba. Whatever I'm asking here is on behalf of people of Lilongwe Chiwamba. And also in my constituency, I have people also who are retired pensioners. I'm supposed to speak on behalf of them. Now, if I'm asking a question pertaining to someone who's holding a position, I'm supposed to, whether he's not here or he's outside. But because you are chair of this committee, I respect that decision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lilongwe Chiwamba. Controlling officer, honor members, controlling officer, can you take all those? Honor members, after that, then we wind up because we have secretariat waiting. After secretariat, we have a new board today. Controlling officer.
Thank you so much, Chair. Chitipa Central, thanks for the clarity. So let me make this clear. As far as this board is concerned, and the records that we've given, after we had concluded with Nico that we're not proceeding, and that after the closure of the investment, they pay back the transaction cost, this board has never made a resolution to the effect that we should re-engage Nico in this investment again. I'm sure my friends are also surprised that at what point did we instruct Secretariat to write Nico on a re-engagement when we proceeded with withdraw. I've just forgotten the date when that letter was written, Chair, because we would not then be making a decision in our 23rd board meeting that we're not proceeding even after the recommendations. We may check and consign the dates. As such, Chair, I want to put it on record here that the board that I chaired did not resolve and never advise Secretariat to re-engage Nico. Chair, I would want to tackle this question together with what Blantyre Chiromoni had asked. Thank you for making...
Chitipa Central, I've guided that we proceed, allow the controlling officer to wind up, to respond to all the questions, then I'll get back to you. I will recognize you.
Through you, Chair, let me thank the chairman, the member from Blantyre Chiromoni for giving us a record of what the Malawi Law Society had found. And the reference to, I think, is it the minutes of the meeting that took place? Chair, when Secretariat came to the board, we had asked for a copy of the proceedings. Were not shared. We've never been shared. So it's now that we're knowing that in that meeting from OPC side who attended, but we knew who attended from our side because Secretariat had mentioned that there were directions and directives to this board to write commitment letters, is it comfort letters on the investment. Chair, at the time, Secretariat presented that OPC had directed that we should consider a proceeding. The key reason which was given to the board was on litigation measures. And for us, we are very sure that since we followed all the steps with the fund manager, we were safe in that line. That comfort letters were written when this board had resolved not to proceed, even in meetings that took place around August, around June before we left, is a new revelation to us as a board, that we were sleeping on duty. Chair, that is an objective thing. Anyone may judge, but I'm very sure that no transaction would have been made bypassing the board, because the mandate of approving the investment is through the board. So even if Secretariat may have done whatever they may have made, they would have needed that the deal be concluded with the board resolution. So I'm not sure I would say we're sleeping or not. That's for the public to judge and for this committee to judge. But as far as I'm concerned, we were consistent with our decision, and at every opportune time, just as when we were told that we should re-engage, we made a decision which we believed was for the better of the members of the fund who are contributing to this fund. Zomba City North. Oh, this one was taken off, yeah.
East, there was an issue to do with handovers.
Okay. On the handovers, Chair, were there proper handovers? Chair, let me mention that for good governance, in our governing policies, there is a provision that when a board is dissolved, that their term ends, a certain percentage of the board, 1/3, be retained. That was put for continuity of the issues discussed. Secondly, as I mentioned, we have a secretariat who keep proper records. As the term of the board comes to an end, it is their duty as well to appraise the incoming board members, including some of the issues that they were being discussed by the former board. Chair, I would not say when our term came to an end and the new board was elected, we were brought together to say do handovers. That never took place. But we have comfort because in the current board, there are members that were in our board who are continuing because of the provision I've said 1/3. So we believe those people would have enlightened any discussion that the former board was doing but also helped by the records which Secretariat keeps. Mulanje West, your question bordered on the whole board missing the minutes and the issue is it highlighted by the SCB on whether we are fabricating minutes. First of all, Chair, let me mention that my board was not summoned by SCB. It is unfortunate indeed, as I said, that the minutes were not there at the time SCB needed them, which is a lapse in governance, and I mentioned it. Whether they got misplaced or they were missing, I can't ascertain. But if we were provided with an opportunity, just as you've given us, we would have provided our side of the story. And that's why you'd see the resolution that is being tendered to this committee, but I think also referred to in the report from Malawi Law Society. I think about the current board chairperson was withdrawn. How do we retable something that has been we've decided, we've made a resolution on, and then later the board thinks that decision may not have been the best decision. It has happened in our board, and I'll give an example. When we had recruited the legal services manager, among the benefits that she was supposed to be given was on, lawyers call it, continue capacity building, something. At that point, as a board, we thought it has to be done in her capacity. But later on, we realized that the best practice is the institution providing capacity. What procedure has to be followed? I'll mention the procedure that our board followed. If it is to be withdrawn, the issue has to start from the relevant subcommittee meeting. Committee. So it has to be discussed, justified within the subcommittee, relevant to that particular resolution. And then during the board meeting, the chairperson or representative of that subcommittee has to table it to the board that we reconsider that decision. And at that particular moment, based on the new evidence, the new justification, the board can make a decision to withdraw the area resolution made or not. And this is what happened in the example I've given. There was justification, and indeed, we reversed that discussion. So that is how my board handled if there would be any of such issues. Mulanje Southeast asked that the transaction cost 47 billion, which was proposed by Nico, is a big sum. Did we consider sanctioning another valuer? Because I think you mentioned that CAM evaluated the property at a different price. Yeah, so let me mention that Nico as a manager, I think you also mentioned about FDH. Nico as our fund manager, as they were pursuing this investment, part of the information that they needed from professionals were the valuers. And let me mention that FDH was doing the valuation on behalf of Nico. The other valuations, is it Garden City and Night Flank, they were doing to help our fund manager have the information and come up with a good analysis. The different valuation through your chair were to ensure that we don't just depend on one valuation. So look at the valuation by FDH and the two property as complementing or providing an analysis based on which Nico had made the recommendation. And I can mention here that the board was apprised of the recruitment processes of these valuers, just to get different figures, from the different valuers. So at any point that they were recruiting, we were informed. Whether we needed at that particular time having, I think, being presented with 3 valuers, someone, others, is a question we can look at now. But at that point, we believed the 3, they gave their recommendations, and based on the analysis Nico presented to us, we thought that was enough. Whether we had tried to get advice from other fund managers before proceeding, no, we did not ask them, because they too were chasing other investment opportunities. Asking them, these fund managers, apart from whatever service they do, they would want to be paid. So it meant having the valuation by these, they too would have also wanted other valuations. So we believed in the extensive work and all the valuations that Nico had commissioned to the property, both the business and the property investment valuers who looked at the infrastructure, but also land. Chair, I've spoken quite a lot. Let me ask my former Chair for Finance and Audit to complement and also speak to the questions that have been asked.
Controlling Officer, I think you have been on your toes, and I know as a human being, you have been here for some time, which I must believe is not, you're not used, but I would like to commend you in the manner that you've been handling the committee and the questions. But I would like to request you to consider giving the committee the closing remarks. I know you had wanted the chair for investment and finance, for financial matters in the board that you served as a chair to comment. But I would like to give you comfort that you've given this committee enough information. You may agree with me that I also recognized Chitipa Central, but in the interest of getting information, in the event that we feel that we need more information and clarification, we'll put it in writing as Parliament so that you can give us enough information. At this point, Controlling Officer, I would like to ask you to give us your closing remarks. As you conclude, you may wish also to touch on the issue that you also raised and responded, that along the way, the principal officer, there were commitment letters which were issued without the board. As you wind up, Controlling Officer, having served the board for some time, a time of 3 years, did you experience such a practice along the way? So you may take that one as you conclude. Over to you, Controlling Officer.
Thank you so much, Chair. Your last question or comment, I'll comment on it. Chair, I would say I've been in the board for 6 years. I was among the first to be in the board, and then later on returned. That's my second cohort. My second term, that's when I was chosen as a chair. Whether we have experienced, so I'll give over the 6 years that I've been in the board, where there are revelations that some commitment letters were written. It is a huge anomaly because in my introduction, Chair, I indicated the role of the Secretariat and that they act upon the direction and resolutions of the board. So this board did not, but we've been told where and who gave the ultimatums by the summary which was given by the Honorable. Is it from Blantyre? Yes. Which is a revelation to us as well. But, Chair, what I can say is the committee, your committee, and the public should not really think the commitment letters that may have been done without the knowledge of the board would have made anything to our board, because at the end of it all this needed me as chair, needed this board as the board to decide on. So whatever anomaly may have happened, at the end of it all, they would have still found us and would have dealt with it there and then. Unfortunately, we're getting those revelations when our term expired. And the dates around June, July, that is when we are holding our last board meeting. And then we didn't even have another chance. So that's what I can say. Lastly, Chair, I would like to thank you for extending an invitation to us. We appreciate the work that you're doing, the questions that you've asked, the clarities that you needed. We know they're for a good cause, a cause that we, as board members, led by me, were also doing or protecting the fund members. Because all this at the end is to protect the fund members. Someone who is in the remote, I will mention my home village in Bama, in Eutin, who is the teacher there and contributing. When they retire, they would want to lean on something, would want to wish you well and commend the job that you're doing. And we hope that through the Almighty God, your inquiry will bear fruits. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Controlling Officer. I would like to appreciate your coming, the speed at which you've deposited documents with Parliament. Would like to appreciate, as a committee, we've enjoyed interacting with you at that level of professionalism, and would like to assure you that the sentiments which have been expressed in this room by different members of Parliament, they were sentiments of those who sent them to Parliament, and we're here just to protect the Constitution and the integrity of Parliament, because it was given the role of providing oversight as reflected in the Constitution. Be assured that the revelations that you've given us will not sit well with the cartels, those who have been fighting the progress of this great nation. But would like also to wish you well, to pray for you, and to ask God to protect you and your previous board, so that together we can build a better Malawi out of these revelations. We would like to assure you that no one is going to untwist this committee, and the report shall reflect the aspirations of Malawians, and at the same time, it shall reflect the deliberations that we're having. Let me appeal once again that at this stage, we are calling for all professionals and everyone who is interested in seeing us do a better job to contact Parliament formally, so that all the documents which are out there can be submitted to Parliament. Let me assure you, Controlling Officer, once again, that we're receiving a lot of documents, including audios, video clips. All those shall help us to get to a final conclusion of what exactly happened. We wish you well and all the best as you leave. My apologies that you've been here for some time, past the tea break, past the lunch hour, but the service that you've rendered to this nation shall always follow you, and I hope all the best shall also follow you. Be assured, as we sit here, you can take leave at your pleasure, because we are expecting the Secretariat, thereafter the new board. Honourable members, allow me to give you just a 15 minutes break. You can go and grab something, then we'll come back into this room to continue with the proceedings. Controlling Officer, you may leave at your pleasure.
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.